When a cartel ship attempts to escape U.S. authorities on the open ocean, it is an effort that rarely succeeds. The sea may seem endless, but for drug traffickers, it is a shrinking space. It is a place where speed and desperation meet the full power of American surveillance and firepower. Every failed mission begins with the brief, false idea of freedom. A small boat cuts through the dark water, its engines loud, its crew shouting orders in a panic. Yet, long before the first wave hits the hull, U.S. eyes are already watching that boat. Invisibility is almost impossible. Satellites, advanced radar networks, and intelligence intercepts ensure this. What cartels call international waters, U.S. forces see only as a controlled area, a chessboard where every move is tracked. Every angle of escape is predicted, and every escape route is closed before it is even used. The great wide ocean has become a trap. The hunt for a cartel ship often begins quietly. Somewhere in the Eastern Pacific or the Caribbean Sea, a low, fast boat or even a self-propelled semi-submersible craft emerges from the shadows of the coast. These vessels carry metric tons of cocaine, packaged securely. The desperate crews believe they have hours, or maybe days before they are found. They are immediately proven wrong. Thousands of miles away, an analyst at a joint U.S. intelligence center has already found the trail. This discovery might come from a radar echo that just clears the waves, or it might be a tip from an informant who sold out his rivals for a lighter sentence. Within minutes, precise coordinates are moving. They flash across secure screens at U.S. Southern Command. The information is instantly sent to Coast Guard cutters and Navy aircraft that are already patrolling the area. The sea is a huge place, but the sky above it belongs to the United States. Long-range P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft, drones, and AWACS planes sweep the ocean in wide arcs. These aircraft build a real-time picture of every vessel in their path. Every movement, even a small change in heat coming off an engine, can trigger a pursuit. The U.S. Coast Guard calls this total vision maritime domain awareness. It is a system that allows for complete sight across vast areas. Even the most advanced, most stealthy narco subs, which are designed to skim just below the surface, leave telltale signs. Heat from the engine, turbulence in the water, or digital messages intercepted by U.S. networks all give away the position. This surveillance is built on layers of technology that work together. High-altitude aircraft like the HC-130J Hercules patrol for thousands of square miles. These planes use the Minotaur mission system to combine radar sweeps and electro-optical feeds. This combined data is instantly shared with command centers for the Navy and the Coast Guard.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
Working alongside these planes are MQ-9 Reaper drones. These drones can stay in the air for more than 20 hours, tracking movements with radar and signal intelligence sensors. This combination of platforms builds a continuous picture where every small, fast boat leaves an electronic fingerprint. Every target is checked through a network of specialized intelligence centers. Analysts connect live surveillance with informant tips and satellite imagery. They map unusual course changes, transponders that were turned off, or night meetings with fishing boats in known smuggling areas. This deep use of data changes simple chance into clear foresight. Commanders can now predict where a cartel craft will appear long before it gets close to U.S. waters. This is the undeniable competence of the U.S. system. Once a target is confirmed, the operation shifts from observation to total pursuit. The U.S. Navy and Coast Guard quickly set up a tight blockade. Coast Guard national security cutters, sometimes backed by Navy destroyers, form the core of the operation. These cutters are capable of managing complex, multi-vector chases across hundreds of miles. When the final confirmation arrives, commanders initiate a multi-vector closure. Multiple ships close in from different directions, forming a tightening box around the cartel vessel. Since smuggling boats can reach high speeds, airborne assets must take over quickly. MH-65 Dolphin helicopters from the Helicopter Interdiction Tactical Squadron, known as HITRON, lift off the cutter decks. They close the distance in mere minutes. The first contact is meant to be psychological. A helicopter descends, its rotors roaring loud enough to shake the air. Bright searchlights cut through the darkness. A booming voice over loudspeakers shouts a clear command. "This is the United States Coast Guard. Stop your vessel immediately." For many smugglers, this is the exact moment when their fear crushes their adrenaline. They know the rules of engagement allow U.S. forces to use increasing levels of force. This could mean warning shots, disabling fire, or a full assault if the U.S. forces are threatened. Some crews comply right away. Others, in a moment of panic and foolishness, try to run. Those who choose to run rarely survive the chase intact. When the boat speeds up, the helicopter door gunner takes aim with a precision rifle. The aim is not to take life, but to immediately stop the engines. A few precise rounds into the engine housing are enough to make the engine roar fade to silence. The vessel drifts helplessly. The crew members quickly raise their hands. Within minutes, U.S. forces are alongside the vessel, boarding with sharp, tactical precision. Arrests are swift and clean. The evidence is secured, and the intercepted drugs, often worth hundreds of millions of dollars, are collected and later destroyed. In a few rare instances, some cartel crews choose to fight back instead of surrendering. They may dump their cargo, hoping to gain speed by lightening the vessel. They may throw barrels of oil or fuel into the sea to create slicks that they hope will confuse the U.S. sensors. In the most desperate cases, they open fire. But this aggression only seals their fate. U.S. cutters and aircraft are trained for this kind of combat. Return fire is immediate and decisive. Engines explode, boat hulls break apart, and the crew members who survive the chaos dive into the ocean to cling to whatever debris they can find. Those few who survive are pulled from the cold water and immediately restrained. Sometimes, the desperate smugglers try to scuttle their own boat. They open valves to sink the evidence before U.S. forces can board. But this tactic fails far more often than it works. High-resolution cameras and underwater drones document everything that happens. When the wreckage is recovered, the proof of their crime is recovered right along with it. This means that cartel defiance guarantees nothing but their own failure. The difference between a cartel vessel and U.S. assets is a gap of technological generations. Cartel boats rely on simple raw engine power and a low-profile design to avoid radar. The U.S. Coast Guard uses integrated command networks, GPS-linked targeting systems, and satellite feeds that provide real-time data. Every flight path, every radio signal that is intercepted, and every ship location ping builds a predictable pattern. What was once guesswork for the cartels is now predictive modeling for the U.S.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
The algorithmic hunt is powered by data that comes from across the entire hemisphere. Cartels continually try to find new ways to adapt. They test new fiberglass hulls. They try paint that reduces heat signatures. They attempt runs without GPS. They shift their timing to cross the ocean only at night or hide themselves among large fishing fleets. None of these efforts truly work. The U.S. has effectively turned the ocean into a grid of constant, total observation. Even the quietest smuggler still leaves digital footprints. These include cell phone signals, maritime logs, or payment trails found by financial intelligence teams. This technological dominance is reflected in the numbers. In the early 2000s, cartel escape rates at sea were high. The semi-submersibles were a new kind of innovation that could evade radar and carry multi-ton loads. But by the middle of the 2010s, the cartel's advantage was completely gone. Coast Guard data confirms that today, over 90% of all known drug smuggling vessels detected at sea are intercepted before they can reach land. In many operations, the U.S. forces act preemptively. They strike boats before they even leave the coasts of South America. guided by intelligence gathered from allied navies or local informants. The result of this relentless dominance is devastating for the cartels. Each shipment that is lost is not just a loss of profit. It is also a clear signal to rival criminal organizations that a supply line has failed. The cartel's credibility quickly begins to erode. This collapse in authority often leads to violence. The ocean becomes not a smuggling lane, but a graveyard for failed operations. The cartel strategy has changed many times to try and keep up. When air routes became too risky, they moved to the sea. When traditional cargo ships were caught, they built semi-submersibles. When those were tracked, they tried to use smaller, faster boats. Yet, every new adaptation the cartel tries has a short lifespan. This lifespan is measured only in months before the US adapts again. US, machine learning now, predicts exactly where boats will launch based on communication intercepts, weather patterns, and the tides. Artificial intelligence flags every unusual movement at sea in real time. The final outcome is that there is no gap in coverage, no blind spot, and no real freedom of movement for the traffickers. The cartel's entire system is crumbling. Every successful interdiction carries a psychological weight that shatters cartel morale. For the low-level crew members operating these vessels, the immediate realization that they are being tracked from the sky is terrifying. They look up, see the dark shadow of a helicopter, and know that their engines will soon be silent. The loss of a single ship at sea is a wound that is felt far beyond the water. It is a public wound. The ocean becomes a costly graveyard for millions in narcotics and the cartel's own pride. Inside the cartel's hierarchy, the loss of control creates immediate panic. Cartels depend on the illusion that they control every route and every captain. A single failed escape destroys that illusion. When US forces intercept a vessel through a disabling shot or direct confrontation, the message is clear. The cartel can be defeated. The upper ranks of the cartel immediately turn inward, desperate to find the source of the failure. Survival depends on finding out where the leak began. For cartel leaders, their authority is based on fear. They must maintain the perception that they cannot be outsmarted. When a shipment worth millions sinks under US attack, that perception is completely shattered. Associates begin to whisper. Rivals begin to circle. Lieutenants begin to question if the boss has lost his power. The leader's authority begins to quietly crumble. What follows this humiliation is not discussion. It is swift retaliation. Someone is forced to pay for the failure, and it is usually done quickly and brutally. The panic filters down through the entire organization. Any crew members who are captured alive become massive liabilities. Every hour they spend in US custody is a ticking clock, raising the chance that they will reveal routes, suppliers, or even senior commanders. This constant fear creates an internal culture that quickly destroys the structure of the organization. Enforcers rush to eliminate loose ends, targeting anyone who might compromise security. In their rush to clean up, the cartel often causes more internal damage than the interception itself. The failure forces immediate chaos in operations. With millions lost, logistics teams must rush to reroute supplies through untested channels. These sudden, desperate improvisations often lead to more errors. Cartel crews may be unverified, the new routes may be unsafe, and the intermediaries may be unreliable. In their rush to make up for the loss, the organization only exposes itself further. The cartel's reactive strategy quickly becomes its most fatal weakness. Then comes the public humiliation. The cartel leaders cannot stop the news. Footage of US Navy helicopters hovering over burning cartel vessels is released. Footage of the Coast Guard hoisting bales of cocaine out of the sea is broadcast. US officials give press briefings declaring a decisive victory. These images loop across news networks. The cartel's power is built on secrecy and invisibility. Every publicized failure strips that power away. For the men at the top, this public spectacle is a personal disgrace. Humiliation is a more powerful weapon than simple fear. It destroys the myth that supports the cartel's authority. A leader who commands through terror must always appear untouchable and beyond human error. A televised defeat turns that leader into a mere mortal. Inside the organization, loyalty quickly fragments. To try and restore their dominance, the leadership often overcompensates. They issue harsher orders and order deadlier reprisals. They try reckless missions designed only to reassert their strength. All of these reactions create new vulnerabilities that U.S. intelligence agencies are waiting to exploit with precision. The captured crew members quickly become more valuable to the U.S. than the seized cargo. Even small fragments of confession, a codename, a location, a pattern of behavior, feed into a massive intelligence mosaic. For the cartel, this is intolerable. Each interrogation threatens to expose years of work, including routes that were refined through violence and bribery. As U.S. and allied forces tighten their surveillance at sea, the cartel's options completely shrink. They can no longer control the seas. They can only try to control the narrative within their own ranks, usually through silence and death. After a failed escape, the highest levels of the cartel conduct their own investigation. This internal process is often more violent than any government inquiry. Cell phones are confiscated, territories are locked down, suspected traitors simply vanish. Even those who are not involved suffer greatly under the suspicion. These internal purges disrupt operations even further, stalling shipments, freezing payments, and destroying trust between different cartel factions. The cartel's attempt to restore order only makes the decline of coordination happen faster. This leaves the entire criminal network more exposed. The true financial damage is found in the cascading financial fallout. Suppliers who lost their product demand compensation. Corrupt officials who lost their bribe money need reassurance. Enforcers still expect to be paid. When the flow of cash falters, smaller cells break off or seek new alliances with the cartel's competitors. The organization, which once seemed like a solid unit, fractures under its own weight, leading to betrayals and new turf wars. Every fragment tries desperately to distance itself from the public failure, and this deepens the internal divide. For the U.S., these decisive interdictions are not just about stopping drugs, they are about asserting dominance. A sunken cartel vessel acts as both a warning and a powerful statement. No one is untouchable. Military footage of dramatic captures and precision strikes reinforces public confidence in the U.S. system and increases deterrence. This is psychological warfare, disguised as law enforcement. And it is effective. Every headline about a seizure destroys the mythology that cartels are all powerful. The consequences are systemic and permanent. The United States now treats maritime trafficking not just as a criminal problem, but as a major security threat, similar to terrorism. By labeling certain organizations as foreign terrorist entities, operations gain the legal authority to use military assets beyond the traditional limits of policing. The operational effect is clear. Traffickers now face a unified force that combines the law enforcement authority of the Coast Guard with the combat power of the Navy. The most important advantage the U.S. holds is its ability to learn faster than its enemy. Every single failed cartel escape is more than just a capture. It is a live training exercise that completely rewires U.S. intelligence. Each abandoned vessel and each intercepted message reveals a fragment of behavior that agencies feed into their analytical systems. These failures are analyzed step by step until they become structured data. For U.S. authorities, a failed escape is an investment in predictive accuracy for the next fight. The lessons learned are quickly fed back into a constant loop that teaches authorities what worked and how traffickers are trying to change. Machine learning systems detect repeating patterns. They track how long cartel submarines stay underwater, which ports they test, and how often they change their hull paint to fool infrared scans. These learning loops allow authorities to place their assets exactly where smugglers never expect resistance. The result is strategic foresight. It is the power to see the next move before it is even made. The once existing surveillance gaps that allowed fast boats to vanish are quickly closing. They are being replaced by patrol grids that shift in real time based on new intelligence. When one cartel route collapses, the traffickers try to adapt. But when the cartel adapts, the US is already anticipating their move. It is a silent arms race of learning and countering. The human intelligence factor also plays a major role. Every failed escape gives interrogators valuable psychological insight. The patterns in cartel crew testimony reveal more than technical information. Why they chose a certain route or what false rumors they heard about safe zones helps US analysts map the false beliefs within the cartel culture. A crew's fear or misplaced confidence often exposes deeper strategic misjudgments by their leaders. Over time, US analysts found a repeating pattern. After every major US success, new recruits were always told that the US could not possibly monitor every corridor. This belief became their great weakness. By studying failed escapes, authorities learn not only about smuggling routes, but about the cartel's mindset. Understanding the false story the traffickers believe allows the US to use psychology as a weapon. The perception of US dominance itself becomes a barrier. Modern interdiction is like predictive policing, but on the open sea. Algorithms consume vast amounts of data from radar pings, intercepted calls, and ship logs. Every failure is fed into the learning machine. Analysts can then run simulations to see what would happen if a vessel had succeeded. These simulations show unseen US vulnerabilities. Every hypothetical failure strengthens the next mission plan. The learning process is efficient and ruthless. No loss is wasted. The cartel's learning curve is biological, slow, and based on emotion. The US learning curve is digital, instant, and completely unrelenting. Over time, this creates total psychological dominance. The smugglers begin to doubt their own systems. Fear completely replaces confidence. The more predictable the cartel becomes, the faster they are intercepted. What started as a simple chase has become a predictive trap. Every failed escape closes another corridor forever. This endless cycle of US adaptation reinforces global maritime dominance. Each successful prediction not only stops a shipment, but asserts absolute US control over strategic waters. The Caribbean, once a hidden corridor for illegal trade, now operates under near constant surveillance. In the end, every failed escape tells two stories: one of total defeat for the cartel, and one of clear progress for its pursuers. The more the traffickers try to innovate, the smarter their opponents become. The US has learned how to turn chaos into clear patterns, noise into reliable intelligence, and failure into undeniable foresight. Every time a smuggler makes a mistake, an algorithm grows stronger. Every time a vessel is seized, an unseen model updates itself. The ultimate truth remains simple: US pursuit equals capture or destruction. Those who escape do so by luck, not skill. Even then, their short victory is only temporary. The sea remembers every failed attempt. For every cartel ship that dares to flee, a radar ping is waiting. A helicopter is already in motion. A disciplined crew is ready to strike. In this war between desperation and dominance, the ocean itself sides with the ones who control the sky. The era of unchallenged maritime smuggling is completely over. The US force sees everything, moves faster than its adversaries, and leaves traffickers with absolutely no escape. This takedown was just the start. The fight isn't finished. On your screen is the next video. Click the video, it opens right away, and you'll see the cartels crushed even harder.